Hello, you're watching Global Mirror. I'm Shreya Upadhyaya, and on the show today, we'll be talking about the latest escalation in the Russia-Ukraine war, Donald Trump's cabinet experiencing some turbulence, and Nadal's final goodbye to professional tennis. Before all of this, let's first get you all that has happened between the Russia, United States, and Ukraine. A day after Russian President Vladimir Putin lowered the threshold of using nuclear weapons in the war, the American embassy, along with embassies of Italy, Spain, and Greece in Kiev, have been shut temporarily over concerns of a potential significant air attack, something that we saw in the last few days as well. The U.S. Embassy employees have been advised to be prepared to immediately take shelter if an air alert is announced. But what has led to this latest fear of escalation? Well, 2 months before President Joe Biden demits office, he has authorized Volodymyr Zelensky to use American Army Tactical Missile System, also known as ATACMS, against Russia's Kursk region. Why Kursk? Because Russia has been trying to capture Kursk with the help of North Korean soldiers. It's a border buffer zone between Ukraine and Russia. Biden has also approved sending anti-personnel mines to Ukraine, which is a major policy shift by the U.S. aimed at slowing Russian advances in the east. Observers believe that this permission by the U.S. might pave way for European countries to loosen their rules as well. Even though UK and France have supplied the Storm Shadow or Scalp missiles to Ukraine, Kiev is only allowed to use them inside Ukraine's internationally recognized borders. Now, UK's made Storm Shadow missiles were fired into Russian territory this week. As Russia retorted using mid-range ballistic missile for the first time since this war began, Putin said that the West-invoked war has now a global character.
19 ноября 6 оперативно-тактическими ракетами «Атакамс» производства США и 21 ноября в ходе комбинированной ракетной атаки системами «Шторм Шэдоу» производства Великобритании и «Химарс» производства США были нанесены удары по военным объектам на территории Российской Федерации в Брянской и Курской областях. С этого момента, как мы неоднократно подчеркивали, ранее спровоцированный Западом региональный конфликт на Украине приобрел элементы глобального характера.
Earlier this week on Global Mirror, I spoke with Ukraine's youngest MP, Sviatoslav Yurash, American sociologist Salvatore Babons, and Russian analyst Nikita Menkovich. Take a look at some of the excerpts of that conversation. There were a lot of concerns, Mr. Yurash, about Donald Trump coming in. He has promised that he's going to be ending the war. Now, with Joe Biden having made these announcements, does it come as a relief for Ukraine on the battlefield?
Modern warfare and warfare in general is all about logistics. The logistical hubs the Russians are using to cause death and destruction in Ukraine are well known to the world. Numerous media around the world are publishing the places that the Russians are storing their supplies that are hitting Ukrainians day in and day out, killing scores of people every single day. Our inability, sadly, to hit those points is destroying our capability to stop this horror. And the fact that this permission is very welcome news because we can try and disrupt the Russian ability to cause terror in our country.
Mr. Salvatore, a lot of people are also questioning the timing of Joe Biden taking these decisions and permitting the use of U.S. long-range missiles for Kyiv. Isn't that provocative on part of America in terms of escalating this war, as well as leaving a more difficult situation behind for Donald Trump to handle?
It is an escalation. Every step in the Ukraine war has been an escalation from the time Russia first invaded Ukraine. Russia's invasion represented an escalation of the existing low-level conflict between Russia and Ukraine. Donald Trump is certainly right that we just need to all settle down here and recognize that while Ukrainians have an understandable desire to defend themselves, nobody can deny them the right to defend themselves. We don't want to allow this war to spiral out of control. Now, the Biden administration seems to disagree about that. They seem to want a controlled escalation of the war. Yes, absolutely. The U.S. has been escalating the war, in each season in Ukraine. Now, to be clear, Russia has also been escalating the war in Ukraine. We want that escalation to stop on both sides.
Lots of people think there's a lot of pressure now coming the way of Russia, considering the fact that Donald Trump is going to be assuming the next U.S. presidency. Does Russia seem to think so too, that there's a lot of pressure coming in to end this war?
I'm afraid that Mr. Trump wouldn't change a lot of things. He's just one of new presidents of United States. He's the head of United States, but he's a representative of United States as an aggressive country who is trying to build a new colonial system in the world. They take power in Ukraine. They took power in Afghanistan. They occupied a lot for other countries. They want to see our country, Russia, as a colony too. Maybe Mr. Trump want to use another weapons. Maybe he wants to start his aggression with China and stop it for the time against Russia. But we're dealing with the situation. United States is fighting against Russian independence and Ukrainian independence. In fact, there is no Russian-Ukrainian conflict for a long time. Ukrainian people are members of Russian army. Ex-Ukrainian citizens liberated Kurahovskaya a few weeks ago. It is Russian troops with Ukrainian native people. They are fighting for those independence against American occupation and against puppet regime in Kyiv. They want to be free. We want to be free. We don't want to be a colony as India was before.
From one war to the other, after the International Criminal Court issued an arrest warrant against the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his former defense minister Yoav Gallant for alleged war crimes, Netanyahu has strongly rejected the warrant, calling it anti-Semitic and politically motivated. The United States, meanwhile, condemned the warrant, calling it outrageous. Now, Biden's rejection, remember, reflects America's long-standing support for Israel and its skepticism of the ICC's authority, particularly in cases involving America's allies. This diplomatic clash underscores the ongoing tensions between justice and politics in international law, with the ICC's actions facing strong opposition from Israel as well as the United States.
The anti-Semitic decision of the International Court in The Hague is a modern Dreyfus trial, and it will end the same way. By biased judges who are motivated by anti-Semitic sentiments against the one and only Jewish state. These judges did nothing. They did nothing against the real war crimes. They issued an arrest warrant against the corpse of the Hamas arch-terrorist Mohammed Deif. His corpse. What an absurdity. No biased anti-Israel decision in The Hague will prevent the state of Israel from defending its citizens. Israel will not recognize the validity of this decision. We will continue to do everything we must do to defend our citizens and defend our state against Iran's axis of terror, Iran and its terrorist proxies, which include Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, and others.